Hi, it's Lori from Common Sense Home, and I wanted to show you a few quick tips about pruning your apple trees. Some of this applies for all your pruning, some of this is apple tree specific, but when you're looking at fruiting trees, the first things you want to check are crossing branches and damaged branches. And you can see here, this got damaged during the winter, so this little chunk is coming off, and I'm going to trim that neatly. Right here we have an outward facing bud, and so I'm going to clean cut that at an angle, 45-degree angle, just above that outward facing bud, and that will give this a clean edge so it heals neatly and direct that growth outward. As you're looking at pruning your tree, you want to really focus on which way do you want to direct that growth. For optimal fruiting, you want your branch angles to be exposing your fruit to sunlight. So generally they say 60 degrees or wider for your big supporting branches. If you'll notice here, we have these branches coming out, and then your twiggy growth comes off of that. When the tree was younger, we used stakes and strips of old sweatpants and tied these down to straighten them out so that they would grow at a wider angle. That gets sunlight to inside these branches here, and that helps your fruit grow. What we're going to look at a little bit closer here is the different types of growth and the different cuts, and we'll see if we can zoom in just a little bit here, and I can show you the twiggy growth where the fruit sets and how we've used redirected cuts in the past. Okay, and if you look here, see all these little twiggy bits here and here? I'm holding my hand here so we can hopefully pick these up a little bit better on camera. Now all these little twiggy bits are where your blossoms are going to show up and you're going to be setting fruit. As your tree grows, you'll also get this smooth, flat growth at the tips of branches. As we're working through the tree, we want to trim back that growth a little bit so it doesn't get too leggy. So you don't want just big, huge whips headed up to the sky, which is what Dunk's working on up there. We'll get to that in a bit. When you direct your growth, you want to aim for a 45-degree cut just above the bud that you're directing outwards. And we can see here, this one was done in a previous year. I'm going to see if I can get my hand behind that. If we look, this was cut a little bit too far above the bud, so we actually have this nub here that partly died off. And then the branch grew from down and around that. If you screw up a little bit, the tree is going to try and compensate. So don't get too freaked out about it. Like here, we can see we have a little bit of nub. This branch got broken off. The tree redirected energy to the bud below where the break was. And I'm going to clean off that broken bit. And then that should heal over time. And if we had, well, when you're looking at this, always think spreading out the branch, growing it evenly outward, getting sun to the inside for the fruit. Now up top, you can see, let me see if I can get in here. That growth up there is reaching for more sunlight. So Dunk is going to bring that back a little bit with heading cuts. In each cluster of branches, he's going to select a central leader, that's the main heading branch that directs the main growth of that cluster of branches. And that one gets left a little bit longer, and then the surrounding branches are going to come back a little bit shorter. And always when he's cutting it back, he's going to pick a bud and then cut at a 45-degree angle just above that bud. You don't want to get too close to the bud because that will kill the bud. You don't want to get too far above the bud because then you'll get a dead stump above the bud. And those are the main points to look at when you're pruning your apple trees. The apple trees tend to go in what's referred to as a modified central leader, where a lot of times you'll have a more central trunk going up. This one we inherited for somebody else, so it's not exactly that. We did transplant it when it was little. Stone fruits like peaches, apricots, they tend to be pruned in more of a vase shape, where you have, I'll set this down, instead of trunk and then scaffolding of branches, you'll actually open up the whole center of the tree and frame it outward. But always remember, look for crossing branches, remove the crossing branches, look for broken branches, clean up anything that's broken or damaged. Then look to open up and bring light into the center of the tree and get light to all your branches and direct your growth outward so the tree has room. That's the main thing to look for when you're pruning. Thank you for watching, and if you got any questions, hit me up.